We're going home. Those words can strike a powerful emotional chord. The desire for home has been the theme of many songs, and even the basis of the science fiction series Star Trek Voyager. The promise of going home underlies today's readings. In 597, Jerusalem had fallen, and its king, priests, and most of its leading citizens had been taken away as refugees to Babylon. Now, some 150 years later, to these unhappy exiles, a new prophet brings a promise of a return. We don't know his name, but because his writings have been preserved in the scroll of Isaiah, he is usually known, unsurprisingly, as Second Isaiah. The normal route from Babylon to Jerusalem would have been through the civilized, fertile crescent to the north. But Second Isaiah implies that God is not mucking about. He will take the most direct route, even if that means going straight through the Arabian desert. In the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. The promised return did take place after the new emperor Cyrus decreed in 538 that Israel should indeed be allowed to go home. Although it has to be said, the return wasn't quite as impressive as the prophet's poetry would have led us to expect. People came back in dribs and drabs and by more conventional routes. But they did come home. Later, the promise came to be understood not so much as a geographical homecoming, but as a return of hearts and lives. Nonetheless, the promise remained etched in the psyche of Israel. The people may have strayed from God, but the Lord would bring them home. We see this later interpretation in the book of Baruch. Israel is again in trouble. The Greek-Syrian Empire is now trying to stamp out Judaism. Geographically, Israel is still in its homeland, but she has allowed herself to drift away from God. Baruch more or less quotes 2nd Isaiah word for word as he promises the Lord will restore the broken relationships between him and his people. For God has ordered that every high mountain be made low, and every valley filled to make level ground. For God will lead Israel with joy in the light of his glory. It's perhaps no surprise that Luke too takes up this same promise in his gospel. As a companion of the Apostle Paul, Luke would have travelled on those famous Roman roads that connected the towns and cities of the empire. This network of well-built and straight highways held the Roman Empire together. Traders, administrators, and above all Roman legions could easily crisscross the empire. Yet in his gospel, it's not the road, but the voice that is in the wilderness. The voice is John the Baptist, who proclaims not a physical road, but the way of the Lord. It's the road that brings us back to God. And from this passage at the beginning of Luke's Gospel, the idea of a road continues to play a central place in his writings. Jesus invites his disciples to follow him on the way from Galilee to Jerusalem. The risen Lord makes himself known to the couple on the way to Emmaus, whilst in the book of Acts, the way is Luke's favourite description of Christianity. We sometimes think of the church as a fortified city. We must build up high walls and defend its truth against all enemies. However, as we pass through Advent, the idea of a road can give a deeper insight into our faith. We are all travellers. Jesus himself is not just our destination, he is also our way. When we are lost, God provides in Jesus the road that will bring us back to our true home. The question becomes not, how far have you travelled, but are you still moving? For it is not on the road that we meet the risen Lord. The two explained what had happened on the road and how Jesus had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. Amen.